for a lack of a better word, he lied in the sense when he said that men and women are treated equally in Afghanistan. We all know, I know very well what's going on with Afghan women inside that country. I mean, those who could leave Afghanistan and they are settled abroad, they're still having some kind of a, equality semblance of a normal life, but not those who are inside. But then the point is, he took all the questions. He was very direct with the answers. He, of course, took some of the, he gave some of the answers also in Hindi, and the point is he did not shy away from answering any single question. So he took all the questions.
Hello and welcome. You're watching Strat News Global. I'm Ketki Angre and this is The Gist. There was a press conference that took place over the weekend in Delhi that has attracted a lot of attention and, of course, grabbed headlines. Somebody who was at that press conference, my colleague Nayanima Basu, now joins us for more. Initially when the first press conference happened, there was a lot of outrage because of women not being present in the press conference. We're talking about the press conference of the Afghan foreign minister who is in India on a week-long visit. What exactly was the sequence of events? Because there are so many different versions coming out of it.
Well, firstly, thank you so much for having me on your show, Ketki. As you are aware, the first press conference happened right after the bilateral meeting that the Taliban foreign minister Muttaqi had with Dr. Jaishankar, the external affairs minister. And I mean, some of us got to know that there's going to be a press conference, but the location, I mean, the venue and the timing was not told to us. Then eventually we realized that this is going to happen at the later part of the day inside the Afghanistan embassy that's there in Delhi, which has been, not operational, of course, since 2021, since the Taliban comeback. And I mean, we got to know, but then some of the women journalists they reached till the gates, but they were not allowed. Then, in the sense, the press conference happened. We, of course, let that happen, but it was finally realized when it got concluded that not a single woman journalist was invited, right? Not just one or two, but none of them, and very selective male journalists also. So then the question arose, where did they find this media list? Because essentially when such press conferences take place, the reporters, the MEA beat reporters who write on foreign policy, security, defense, they are generally called. And that was not the usual practice that was followed here. So of course then there was this outrage, and some of us took to Twitter writing about the fact that, why is it this discrimination that the Taliban does in their country against women will be allowed to happen also in India, especially in Delhi, the capital city. So that was it. And then, of course, there was a political fallout. And then after his visit to Deoband is when, again, on Sunday morning, we got some of us got an invitation that there is going to be another press conference. But again, the venue and the timing was not confirmed. But some of us did write back saying that this should not be again a women only press conference. It should be open to all, especially to all the foreign policy reporters who write on it. And if you do so, then again, I mean, some of us, we told the Taliban spokesperson who's kind of organizing it, that then we will stage a walkout if you do not call our male counterparts. So that was it.
Okay. So, the Taliban foreign minister gave an explanation where he said that there was a technical issue. That sounds so unconvincing. I mean, how was he trying to pass it off as a technical issue?
Yes, so that was the very first question we asked him, that why, you did the first press conference in such a manner. And he said that there was a technical glitch, technical issue, and it was done on a very short notice, which of course was not the case, because of the record, we got to know many other things that they were saying to defend themselves. So then eventually, all other questions came up on Afghan women, killing of Danish Siddiqui, Reuters photojournalist, and of course, overall on security. So I'm sure, I mean, Muttaqi had no answer at that point of time, but as long as he did the press conference and took some of the very tough questions is where I feel, a course correction was done on Sunday.
All right. Some of the questions, and you were right there in the front row at that press conference, some of the questions that were put to him, what is your sense of how he answered them? And actually, there were some which he very, very deftly sort of circumvented also.
Yes, of course. I mean, he also, I would say, did not answer them properly, or you can say, for a lack of a better word, he lied in the sense when he said that men and women are treated equally in Afghanistan. We all know, I know very well what's going on with Afghan women inside that country. I mean, those who could leave Afghanistan and they are settled abroad, they are still having some kind of a equality semblance of a normal life, but not those who are inside. But then the point is, he took all the questions. He was very direct with the answers. He, of course, took some of the, he gave some of the answers also in Hindi, and the point is, he did not shy away from answering any single question. So he took all the questions. Yes, you may not agree with some of the answers he gave, but of course, I mean, that's for us journalists to write what he said. But he took each and every question, and the point on the front row, again, it was not really designed in such a way that women will be sitting on the front row. Some of us reached very early, about 3 4 hours before the conference was to begin, because we were not aware about the timing ban. Then we didn't want to lose this opportunity. So yes, so that's how we entered first, and then of course it was played live, and I'm sure you know what had happened. But again, he took all the questions. What was interesting for me to also notice is the fact that how the Afghan tricolor, the former government's, the republic tricolor, was still very much there on the main gate. And the staff, that local staff here, which consists, of course, Indian nationals and also Afghan nationals, they refused to welcome Muttaqi there. They refused to put the white flag of the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan. Although Taliban themselves, the Taliban delegation, they installed it on that stage. But inside there is this kind of a silent, I would say, protest going on. They said that we will not even serve him water; he can manage on his own. So that was also a parallel kind of conflict going on there. So I do not know what is the arrangement that is there, but to say, and many experts, and at least for me, in my case, I got attacked on X and also on social media, that is Afghanistan's territory. It is really not so, because we have not given formal recognition to the Taliban government yet. Unless you do that, and we know what is going on inside the embassy right now, it is not really Afghanistan's territory, so to say. But it is good that the government is engaging with the Taliban. We need to do so for all strategic reasons. I understand that, and that's what I had been also writing since I covered the fall of Kabul. But end of the day, we cannot also let them, promote their ideologies in this country.
Right. And, I want to ask you one more question that seems to have come up quite a bit in social media conversation. Why did the male journalists on day one either not stage a walkout or protest? And if that's half the story there again. So if you could put that in perspective, because I also know that a lot of male journalists did get asked that question.
Yes, and I feel quite, in the sense, I don't feel good about the fact how they were attacked. End of the day, they are all my colleagues. They really did their job. You know what happens when such a press conference is called, right? You, as a journalist, your first instinct is to get there, reach there, get the story, come back and file it. You don't really get to understand what is going on. So I guess they just did their job, and but then I believe also, maybe at the end of it, when they realized finally that the press conference is over and there is not a single woman journalist is there. I mean, I think they could have asked, but again, at the rush of things, and we all have deadlines to follow, I'm sure their first thing was to come and file the story. And also, I think somewhere, uh, I'm sure that press conference also happened with permission from the Ministry of External Affairs. So, people were asking the MEA also what had happened. They said officially they came up with one line that they had no involvement. But to attack the male journalist who attended it for not staging a walkout, I don't think it's fair, because end of the day, this is a historic visit. I mean, this is unprecedented that India is engaging with Taliban, which has not happened before when the Taliban ruled Afghanistan. So, getting the story was far more important than standing up for ideologies, which anyway, I'm sure we are all capable of. I mean, we women journalists are capable of doing it, and we did it.
Yeah, yeah, I think that was quite visible during the press conference itself on Sunday. So I want to change track a little bit to ask you about this peculiar relationship that India has with the Taliban, where we don't actually recognize them as the government, and yet we are engaging. And you know how that also is something that's practical and needs to be done. But how do you look at that relationship?
Well, again, I mean, I had mentioned it in my book also, which I wrote since I covered the, Afghanistan before Taliban and after Taliban. Uh, Again, this might sound odd, but the Taliban in Afghanistan is a reality today. They have 100% control over that country, unlike what it used to be earlier when they were there from 1996 to 2001. There was a active anti-Taliban force that was working, and several forces going on. But of course, the pocket of Panjshir Valley was very actively fighting the Taliban at that point of time. Which is not the case this time. And this time also, we need to understand how they are also deepening their, kind of governance there in Afghanistan. We may agree, we may not agree, that's ideological, but from a purely strategic and geopolitical perspective, I think India needs to do that also, because tensions with Pakistan is at an all-time high because of the Pahalgam attack, and of course Operation Sindoor, and also the fact that we know what is going on at the Afghanistan-Pakistan border as well, and there is conflict going on every single day. There are tensions with Pakistan over Durand line, and of course the TTP factor, which another question that was asked at that Sunday press conference, that what do you think of the TTP. And he was very clear, Muttaqi was very clear, saying that we don't give safe havens to the TTP. Whatever is happening within, yes, near the border, but within Pakistan's own territory. So it is Pakistan which is not able to manage the conflict, and we are not, but he also said that we don't want any conflict with Pakistan. We love Pakistanis. We are like brothers. They also want peace, but this is the certain elements in Pakistan doing it. So I think that's also a very big factor that India is leveraging on. That's one. And secondly, the reality today also is that there is a Chinese presence in Afghanistan, which is very much increasing. Be it critical minerals, be it many other things. And we know the Chinese have also, put their own ambassador there, and there's another Taliban representative or ambassador in Beijing. So taking into account all of that, I think what India did was very practical and needed to be done at this point of time. But then again, we should not be now only engaging the Taliban and not looking another reality, because in Afghanistan we know very well how history quickly changes, and tomorrow, for all you know, the anti-Taliban force, which is kind of somewhat active outside of Afghanistan, you never know. Tomorrow they can come back to again attack the Taliban. You never know. So I think while we engage with them, we need to also be very clear of the reality that could be there of the future. That things in Afghanistan can change. But then, yes, we need to start people-to-people linkages. We need to resume the projects which the external affairs minister very clearly spoke about, and most importantly, coming in of the Afghan students, which used to be the basic factor for which India has a massive goodwill support in Afghanistan. The Chinese, the Pakistanis, that's a different factor, but the way they love Indians, and I'm a first-hand witness of that. How they welcome you, how they talk to you, their basic behavior changes when they get to know that you're an Indian. You will never feel that kind of anti feeling. They really love the fact that India is always with them through thick and thin. So I guess that is also very important at this point of time, which we need to very seriously focus on.
Okay, I'm curious also how Muttaqi responded to the questions, particularly about women in Afghanistan. Of course, there were some absolute lies that were sort of put out there, but I mean, that's his prerogative. But how did he take on those questions, especially a lot of them that I saw coming in from women journalists from India?
Yes, I mean, there were many questions that came on his way, and also some of them refuted that we do not agree to the answers that you are giving. But I would say he looked at us eye to eye, took all the questions with a very smiling face. It's not that he was getting agitated or he was rushing to go out of the room or feeling uncomfortable. His body language was very comfortable, and as if he came ready that now that women journalists are going to be there, this is the question that I'll be facing the most. So he started very much with the fact that there is no inequality, and the fact that we are looking at what to do with this issue of women education there. And then he also said that in Afghan families we are very traditional. Even if we open education for women, they will not send their girl child to school. So he was saying all of that, but somehow I don't know, I personally got a feeling that maybe there will be a rethink, because he's getting a lot of backlash, the Taliban regime there, for what they're doing with the women. Of course, this will not happen overnight. It'll take a lot of time, but there is this, some thinking is going on. I'm seeing some of the local media reports coming out of Afghanistan, talking of the fact that why not call some of the women academicians back and take some suggestion from them, how to run the economy or how to run the society and things like that. These are all very preliminary, but I guess some thinking is going on. And I'm sure he heard a lot in the Deoband seminary also. This is what I'm getting to hear from some of my sources of the record, that there was a discussion on women education there as well. Although, of course, there was not a single woman to be seen there, for obvious reasons. But then let's see how it goes. But then, yes, coming to a question, he took each and every question on the Afghan women education very comfortably, smilingly, and he was ready to answer more. I mean, I'm sure he had another meeting, but the press conference went on for almost nearly 50 minutes. And out of those 50 minutes, I think 40 minutes went on only on this Afghan women education issue, and the discrimination. And he took each and every question.
Right. I mean, for our viewers, things in Afghanistan, especially for women, have only deteriorated after the Taliban has come in. A lot of them, initially were asked not to come into work. Then their jobs were slowly just made redundant. They were made to stay at home. There are all kinds of rules that have come in, including they can't step out without a male companion. They can't even talk. Their voice can't be heard. In fact, I remember someone also saying that a cat has more freedom and a bird has more freedom in Afghanistan compared to a woman. So, thank you, Nanima, for all of these insights. Yes, India is treading a very careful path. Yes, we have a lot of investments in Afghanistan. There is the goodwill of the people. And even though India has not officially recognized the Taliban government, it is doing what it should do practically to try and make sure that we continue with the engagement. And the embassy also, coming in, that will also be another step that India will take in Afghanistan. Thank you so much for joining us. And for more such insightful conversations, make sure you stay tuned to Strat News Global.